Welcome in, guys. Thank you very much for joining me today. Hope you all are well and hope you had a good NFL Week 7 weekend. So, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. We're going to jump into most of the games and take a look and see who won, which players stood out, and just my overall take on the action. So, specifically, we're going to talk about the Thursday night football game between the two 40-year-old plus quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers of the Steelers versus Joe Flacco and the Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to talk about the big game that the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes had. They shut out the Raiders. Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles get another win, and Jalen Hurts has a perfect passer rating. And also, we're going to talk about the big shootout between Jackson Dart and the New York Giants versus the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix. So, we had a lot of exciting action in NFL Week 7. So, we're going to jump into all of that and talk about that stuff. Before we do jump into that, I would like to mention that on my YouTube channel, I create content about money, sports, and personal topics with the goal of bringing value to other people's lives. So if you guys find value in this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can continue making these videos. All right, let's go ahead and jump into NFL Week 7. All right, guys, so things kicked off on Thursday night with Thursday night football. It was the so called Icy Hot Bowl because we had two 40-year-old plus quarterbacks go against each other, two NFL legends, two Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. So we had Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers go against Joe Flacco and the Cincinnati Bengals. And both of these quarterbacks are pretty new to these teams. So this is Aaron Rodgers' first year with the Steelers. And Joe Flacco was just traded to the Cincinnati Bengals a couple of weeks ago. So a lot of intrigue in this game. Also, they're both in the same division, AFC North. So it was quite a intriguing game to watch. And I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan, so I was definitely rooting for the Steelers. So, good way to kick off NFL Week 7. So, as we can see, the Cincinnati Bengals get the win 33-31. They improved to 3-4 on the season, and the Steelers fall to 4-2. So, let's take a look at some of the game leaders. So, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Aaron Rodgers had a pretty good game. He went 23 for 34, 249 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The running back, Jalen Warren, had a good game, 127 yards rushing. And tight end, Pat Fryermuth, had 111 yards receiving with 2 touchdowns. So this was a good offensive showing by the Steelers. On the other side, Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Flacco, 31 for 47, 342 yards, 3 touchdowns. And Jamar Chase had a huge game. He had 16 receptions, 161 yards with 1 touchdown. So the old quarterbacks, they both played pretty well in this game. They both had multiple touchdowns, over 200 yards, and Flacco over 300 yards passing. So the old quarterbacks definitely did not disappoint, and they had really good games. So in this one, so since I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I was definitely rooting for the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers. Going into this game, the Steelers were 4-1, and they had an amazing chance to go up 5-1 and have a big lead in their division and pretty much like lock up the division and have an amazing chance, to win at the end of the season. But whenever the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers have these chances, they just never take advantage of them. And, with this loss, now they give life to the Cincinnati Bengals in the division. The Ravens are going to get Lamar Jackson back, so they're going to be tough as well. And the Browns also are going to be competitive. So this was potentially like a season defining game for them. If they win, high probability of winning the division, and with a loss, they open up the division to all the other teams. So very, very disappointing loss for Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. And we'll see if they get back on the winning track going forward. For the Cincinnati Bengals, this was definitely a big win. They're 3-4 on the season. A lot of people counted them out since Joe Burrow got injured and he's going to be out for a couple of months. But if Joe Flacco can keep the Cincinnati Bengals afloat, keep them around 500, maybe Joe Burrow comes back towards the last month of the regular season and they might have a chance to make the playoffs. So big win here for the Bengals, and they definitely just made the AFC North division very, very interesting. So we had another international game played in London, and this was a matchup between the Los Angeles Rams and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So this was a pretty big win for the Rams, 35-7. The Rams are 5-2 on the season, and the Jags dropped to 4-3. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. For the Rams, Matt Stafford, 21 for 33, 182 yards. He had 5 passing touchdowns, which is amazing. 128.6 quarterback rating. For the Jags, Trevor Lawrence, he went 23 for 48, 296 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Travis Hunter had a pretty good game, 8 receptions, 101 yards with a touchdown. So Matthew Stafford, not the highest yardage, but he definitely capitalized in the red zone with 5 touchdowns. And Trevor Lawrence kind of was the opposite. He had pretty good yardage, almost 300 yards, but only 1 touchdown pass, which went to Travis Hunter. So, like I mentioned, this was another international game played in London. So, these international games are definitely growing every season. And the NFL is definitely trying to expand all over the world, but specifically in Europe. So I like to watch them. They just have a different atmosphere. And when they play in these soccer stadiums, It just has a different vibe, and I'm definitely a fan of the international games. As far as these two teams, I mean, the Rams offense looks really good. Matt Stafford, huge, huge game. He didn't have his best receiver, Puka Nakua, who was injured, but that really didn't matter. The veteran wide receiver Devontae Adams had a big game, and a lot of the other wide receivers and tight ends had good games. So the Rams offense looked really good, and they get a dominating win. For the Jags, so a couple of weeks back, they had a big win over the Kansas City Chiefs, but these last 2 weeks, they've lost. So that's kind of what you get with the Jags. You get volatility. They'll beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, who are probably the best team in the NFL right now, but then they'll have these big losses as well. So they're just kind of a hard team to figure out and judge. But I'm definitely still bullish on them. I like Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, the running back, Travis Hunter. They have a solid defense. So I think the Jags are going to be fine. They're not one of the best teams in the NFL, but they should squeeze into the playoffs at the end of the season. And hopefully, Trevor Lawrence and his offense, Travis Hunter, they just continue to build and build. And Brian Thomas Jr. And I think the Jags, if I was a team in the playoffs, I would definitely not want to play the Jags just because they have a lot of different weapons and they can definitely surprise anyone. So, one of the most anticipated games of the weekend was the matchup between the Las Vegas Raiders and their quarterback, Geno Smith, their running back, Ashton Genty, versus the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. So, both of these teams are in the same division and they both have legendary coaches. So, it was definitely a game that brought a lot of intrigue, but the game ended up not being very competitive. The Kansas City Chiefs shut out the Las Vegas Raiders 31-0. The Kansas City Chiefs, after a shaky start to the season, they're, they improved to 4-3 on the season, and the Las Vegas Raiders they dropped to 2-5 on the season. So I don't think anybody was expecting a shutout. So this was a pretty impressive win by the Chiefs. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one, see how the guys played. Las Vegas Raiders, Geno Smith, 10 for 16, 67 yards. So a very bad game by Geno Smith. Um, he's definitely regressed a lot this season relative to like the last few seasons. So I don't think he's a long-term solution at the quarterback position for the Raiders. Running back Ashton Genty only had 21 yards rushing. So very, very bad offensive game by the Raiders. On the other hand, for the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes had an amazing game, 26 for 35, which was 74.3% completion percentage, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So Patrick Mahomes is playing like an MVP. He's playing like the best quarterback in the NFL, which he is. So the Chiefs look very good. Running back Isaiah Pacheco, 57 yards rushing with 1 touchdown. Travis Kelsey, 54 yards receiving. So, what else do I want to say about these teams? I mean, Las Vegas Raiders, I think they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. Their quarterback situation is not good with Geno Smith. I know some people like him, but I honestly think he's a backup quarterback in the NFL. Um, so they're not going anywhere this season. And the Kansas City Chiefs, like I mentioned earlier, they had a shaky start to the beginning of the season. They had some tough losses. They had a wide receiver, Rasheed Rice, who was suspended the first 6 games. They had Xavier Worthy, other wide receiver, who was injured. So it was just kind of looking bad for the Chiefs, but they got a big win over the Baltimore Ravens a couple weeks back, and that kind of changed the tide. And now they get this big win over the Las Vegas Raiders. They got their both of those wide receivers back, Xavier Worthy from injury and Rasheed Rice from suspension. Their defense is playing pretty good, so the Kansas City Chiefs again look like the best team in the NFL. They look like they're Super Bowl bound after a rough start to the season. So I think they're the best team in the NFL, and I think there's a good chance we might see the rematch of last year's Super Bowl, Kansas City Chiefs versus Philadelphia Eagles. Still a little too early for that, but if I had to put my money on something, that would be the two teams. And also Patrick Mahomes, he's playing really well. He's got his stats up and his numbers look a lot better than these last few seasons. So he's definitely in the race for MVP, if not the front runner. So the Chiefs are the most dangerous team in the NFL. All right, so we had a matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts versus Minnesota Vikings and Carson Wentz. So, pretty good game to watch. Um, Carson Wentz playing against his former team, the Philadelphia Eagles. And we wanted to see if the Philadelphia Eagles offense would show up in this one because they've been criticized all season for lack of passing and lack of including their wide receiver, A.J. Brown. So it was an interesting game to check out. We can see that the Philadelphia Eagles won 28-22. They're 5-2 on the season, and the Vikings fall to 3-3. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts, he went 19 for 23, which is an 82.6 completion percentage. So that's really good. He had 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And he had a perfect passer rating. So this is as good of a game as a quarterback can play. So I think Jalen Hurts proved a lot in this game and showed that he can pass um, when he needs to. Saquon Barkley had 44 yards rushing. I'm not sure what's going on with Saquon Barkley. Last year, he had the record-setting season. You know, he had over 100 yards rushing every game. But just this season, he's not doing good at all compared to last season. So he's struggling to get to 100 yards. I don't know if it's him or his offensive line, but a, a serious regression by Saquon Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles running game this season. So, but he's still very dangerous, obviously, and he can give you 100 plus yards rushing on any given day. Their wide receiver, Devontae Smith, had 9 receptions, 183 yards with a touchdown. So he had a really good game. Vikings, Carson Wentz, 26 for 42, 313 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And their wide receiver, Jordan Addison, had 9 receptions for 128 yards. All right, so I think the Eagles proved a lot in this game. Um, I think what they proved was that if their running game is not going very well and they need to rely on the passing game, that they can do that Jalen Hurts can throw over 300 yards. He can get you 3 touchdowns. He can get all of his wide receivers involved, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown. So I was definitely impressed by the Eagles' offense in this game. And that's kind of why I mentioned earlier that I think there's a good chance that the Chiefs and the Eagles meet up again in the Super Bowl because I trust the Eagles in big games and big moments. And I think they're the best team in the NFC. The Vikings are a solid team. We'll see what happens with J.J. McCarthy and Carson Wentz when McCarthy gets back. I'm sure, well, I'm thinking they're going to start J.J. McCarthy again because he's their quarterback of the future, but Carson Wentz has played pretty well in his place. So we'll see what they do with their quarterback situation going forward. So we had a good matchup between the Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones versus the Los Angeles Chargers and Justin Herbert. And the Colts somehow they keep winning. They win 38-24. They improve to 6-1 on the season, and the Chargers fall to 4-3. So the Colts are the biggest surprise of this season. They have the best record in the NFL. And I don't think anybody really expected this from the Colts and Daniel Jones, who's had a very up and down career. And yeah, I'm not sure. Their record says that they're very good, but it's hard to believe in Daniel Jones just compared to like all the previous years that he's played. So I don't know. The Colts are a tough team to judge and figure out. For the Chargers, 4-3 on the season, so they've had some tough losses, but they're still a very good team. So let's take a look at some game leaders in this one. For the Colts, Daniel Jones, he went 23 for 34, 288 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Their running back, Jonathan Taylor, who's probably the best running back in the NFL, he had 16 carries for 94 yards, 3 touchdowns. And on the other side, for the Chargers, Justin Herbert, 37 for 55, 420 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So Justin had a really good game as well. Over 400 yards passing. That's very, very impressive to see. So Herbert had a really good game, but it wasn't enough. So just a couple more things on these two teams. Yeah, so again, the Colts have the best record in the NFL. But honestly, I'm still not a believer. Um, if once they're in the playoffs and they have like a serious competitor on the other side, I just would not trust Daniel Jones in those big moments. We've seen too many bad games from him before. So even though the Colts are looking really good at 6-1, I'm still not sold until I see how they do in the playoffs in the biggest games and biggest moments. But congrats to Daniel Jones on a successful season so far and on resurrecting his career so far. So Colts are a very interesting team to watch. The Chargers looked very good at the beginning of the season. They beat the Chiefs in Sao Paulo, Brazil. But since then, they've kind of come back down to earth. They're 4-3 on the season. Justin Herbert is playing really well, like we mentioned. But honestly, I think it's still the same old Chargers. They're going to make the playoffs, but I don't expect them to make a lot of noise in the playoffs. So I'll just kind of look at the Chargers as a good regular season team and a team that has a really good quarterback, but that they're not a serious contender when it really matters. We had a matchup between the New Orleans Saints and Spencer Rattler versus the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams. So this was two young quarterbacks going against each other. The Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams get the win 26-14. They improved to 4-2 on the year, and the Saints are 1-6. So let's take a look and see how Caleb Williams played in this one and the other game leaders. So for the Saints first, Spencer Rattler, 20 for 32, 233 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he had 3 interceptions. Alvin Kamara, only 28 yards rushing. And their wide receiver, Olave, had 98 yards with 2 touchdowns. For the Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams, 15 for 26, 172, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. So, not a very good or impressive game by Caleb Williams, but his team did get the win. Their running back Swift had 124 yards with a touchdown. So, not the most exciting game to watch here, but just want to say a couple more things on these teams. So, the Saints, they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. Um, Not sure about their quarterback situation with Spencer Rattler. Some games he looks like he might be the solution for them, but some games he does not. So Saints are just not going to be very good, and they need probably some serious changes on their roster. For the Chicago Bears, so the team was initially struggling. Um, a lot of talk about Caleb Williams and the issues he had preseason, and specifically with his accuracy, with his decision making, whether he would be a good fit with the head coach, Ben Johnson. But, after all that talk and all the different games, he's got his team at 4-2 on the year, which is really impressive. Um, each week, Caleb Williams is playing better, and the Chicago Bears as a whole are as well. So, with all that noise in the preseason and the first few weeks of the year, he's got his team sitting well at 4-2. The rest of their season looks bright. I expect Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson just to grow over the year, and I think the Bears are going to be sitting pretty towards the end of the season, making the playoffs, and we'll see how far they go. So, the most exciting game in the NFL this weekend was kind of a surprise. It was the game between the New York Giants and Jackson Dart and the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix. So these are not two of the most popular teams in the NFL. They both have young quarterbacks, and the game was one sided through the first three quarters, but the fourth quarter was really amazing, where the Broncos came rushing back and somehow ended up winning the game. So it was really an awesome game to watch, very exciting, and again, the most interesting game that happened in the NFL this weekend. So the Broncos get the win 33-32. They're 5-2 on the season, really good record. The Giants fall to 2-5. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. For the New York Giants, Jackson Dart, 15 for 33, 283 yards, three touchdowns, one interception. So he's played pretty well ever since he replaced Russell Wilson as the starting quarterback. Um, his numbers are not the biggest numbers, but he's playing well. He's efficient, and for being a rookie quarterback with only a couple games under his belt, I think he's playing really well. Their running back Scatabo had 60 yards rushing, and their wide receiver Robinson had 95 yards receiving. On the other side, Bo Nix had he went 27 for 50 for 279 yards, two touchdowns, zero interceptions. Their running back Dobbins had 81 yards rushing, and Cortland Sutton had six receptions for 87 yards. All right, so the young quarterbacks had pretty good games. So let's talk about the New York Giants first. So they had, a rough start to the season. Russell Wilson was their starting quarterback, but that just didn't work out. It just wasn't looking very good on the offensive side. And the Giants make a change. They put in Jackson Dart, and he definitely brought some energy to the team, some youthfulness, and just different style of play. So I think when he got put in, I think the optimism and hope for the Giants season and their future in general definitely went up a lot. Um, the Giants, they have a pretty good defense. Um, Also, their offense is pretty good as well, but they've always had the quarterback issue these last years. So I think Jackson Dart is definitely the future for the Giants at the quarterback position, and he's only going to get better from here. And for the Denver Broncos, they also, I think, found their franchise quarterback, Bo Nix. Um, he didn't play that well the first three quarters, but he really showed up in the fourth quarter, and he's got his team, sitting nice at 5-2 on the season. They have one of the best defenses, if not the best, in the NFL. So I think both of these teams have a bright future for the rest of the season and definitely in the coming years. So just the game itself specifically, it was kind of a crazy game. Like the Giants were winning 19-0 through the first three quarters, and it just looked, like over, 19-0, and you only have one quarter left. It was just like statistically looking at it, it was almost impossible that the Broncos had a chance to win. But at the beginning of the fourth quarter, the Broncos score a touchdown. They get a 2-point conversion. So they had 8 points on the board. And it was 19-8. So things were looking better. And then the Giants, I mean, they just made a lot of different errors, self-inflicted wounds, and towards the end of the game, the Giants were able to take back the lead, um, 32-30, but they missed the extra point, which would have made it 33-30. And Bo Nix and the Broncos get the ball back with less than a minute left. They drive down the field, they get in field goal range, and they make a game-winning field goal and win the game 33-32. So it was kind of unbelievable that the Broncos came back. All 33 of their points that they scored in the game, they all came in the fourth quarter, which is crazy. So they scored 0 in the first, 0 in the second, 0 in the third quarter, and then 33 points in the fourth quarter. So it's just kind of crazy. You don't see these type of games often. Um, this was definitely like a tough loss for the Giants. I mean, I think they all thought they were going to win the game, and this was definitely like a shock, and it'll definitely sting for a while. So they had a chance to go 3-4 on the season, which would be really solid. Now they're 2-5. So just things change very quickly in the NFL, and not sure what's going to happen with the coaching situation with the Giants. A lot of people are criticizing the head coach, Brian Daboll. But if I was the Giants, I would just kind of stick it out. They have a lot of good things going for them. Tough loss, but don't make any knee jerk reactions, is what I would say. And for the Broncos, I mean, huge win, 5-2 on the season, one of the better records in the NFL. Again, Bo Nix struggled through the first three quarters, but he was really good in the fourth. And this could be a season-defining moment for both teams, like which directions they go. So amazing game, and we'll see where these teams end up at the end. All right, so the next game on the plate is the game between the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love and the Arizona Cardinals, and Jacoby Brissett was playing for the injured Kyler Murray. So we can see that the Packers won this game 27-23. They improved to 4-1-1 on the season, and the Cardinals dropped to 2-5. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. For the Packers, Jordan Love, 19 for 29, 179 yards, one touchdown, zero interceptions. So just an okay game by Jordan Love. Josh Jacobs, 55 yards rushing, two touchdowns. Romeo Doubs, 72 yards receiving. On the other side, for the Cardinals, Jacoby Brissett, 25 for 36, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he had a pretty good game. And their tight end, McBride, had 10 receptions, 74 yards with 2 touchdowns. All right, so the Packers, they get another win. 4-1-1. Cardinals, like we mentioned, they dropped to 2-5. So for the Green Bay Packers, they played well on all sides of the ball, offense, defense, and special teams. Uh, their new acquisition, Micah Parsons, had 3 total sacks. So when the Packers needed to get after the quarterback, Micah Parsons stepped up and got those 3 sacks, which made a big difference in the game. So the Packers are on a good track and one of the best teams in the NFC. Arizona Cardinals, same old Arizona Cardinals. They're in the bottom half of the teams in the NFL. They're not the worst, but right above the worst is where I would put the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray didn't play in this one, and we'll see if the Cardinals stick with Kyler Murray as their quarterback of the future in the coming seasons. So that's something I'm interested in finding out. So another very exciting game that happened over the weekend was between the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels and the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott. So there was a lot of offense in this game, and we can see that the Cowboys score 44 points and get a win over the Commanders. The Cowboys are 3-1, and the Commanders are 3-4 on the season. So I think these two teams are very evenly matched, um, even with their records showing that. In this game, we did have the quarterback for the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, injure his hamstring. So that definitely caused a lot of issues for the Commanders and was one of the reasons that they lost. Well, let's go ahead and check out the game leaders in this one. For the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels, 12 for 22, 156 yards, 1 touchdown. So he played well while he was in there. And for the Cowboys, Dak Prescott, 21 for 30, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Their running back Williams had 116 yards rushing with a touchdown, and CeeDee Lamb had 110 yards receiving with a touchdown. All right. So, again, I think these two teams are evenly matched. The Commanders, they were playing pretty well. But Jaden Daniels gets injured, hamstring injury. Marcus Mariota comes in, and they just really didn't have a chance against the Cowboys at that point. But the Commanders will be fine. We'll see when Jaden Daniels comes back, if this is just very short term or if it'll take him a few weeks to come back. But for the remainder of the season, the Commanders are going to be fine. This is just a bump in the road, and I'm sure they're going to be in the playoff mix at the end. For the Dallas Cowboys, so a lot to say on them. So they're one of the best, if not the best, offensive team in the NFL. Dak Prescott, he's having an amazing season, MVP type of season. He's got both of his wide receivers now. CeeDee Lamb is back from an injury. Their newly acquired wide receiver that they got this year, George Pickens, is having an amazing season, even playing better than CeeDee Lamb. And their rushing game is very good as well. So the Dallas Cowboys offense is just hitting on all cylinders. I think they have the most 40 plus point games scored this season in the NFL. So, very, very good offense. Again, Dak Prescott, I think he's having his best season of his career. He just looks very poised when he's playing. He's making like good decisions. He looks very comfortable and is just very impressive so far by Dak Prescott, who's definitely in the MVP conversation. And on the other side, their defense, I mean, they played okay in this game. It was Marcus Mariota at the end, so I think Dallas still has serious issues on the defensive end. We all know about the trade of Micah Parsons, but they did get back a pretty good defensive player in Kenny Clark, but they're still having serious issues on the defensive end. So yeah, I mean, if the Cowboys can figure out the defense, maybe make some trades, um, I think they're a very scary team, and they can keep up with anybody just because of their high-powered offense and the CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens wide receiver duo might be the best duo in the NFL, right along with the Bengals, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So very, very dangerous team. I'm wondering if they had kept Micah Parsons, if they would be one of the best teams in the NFL with their good offense and having Micah Parsons on the defense. Um, they might have been having a really good season this year, but we won't know. So again, both of these teams are very good. They're going to be in the playoff mix towards the very end, and we'll see how things end up. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the Sunday night football matchup between the Atlanta Falcons and Michael Penix Jr. versus the San Francisco 49ers and Mac Jones, who is still in for the injured Brock Purdy. So, this wasn't the most exciting Sunday night football game, but it was still an okay watch. The 49ers get the win 20-10. They're 5-2 on the season, so playing pretty well, good record. The Falcons also playing pretty well, but they do drop to 3-3 on the season. They're at 500. So I think both teams have the records that they deserve. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. Atlanta Falcons, Michael Penix, 21 for 38, 241 yards, one touchdown, zero interceptions. So solid game there. Bijan Robinson, 40 yards rushing, and Mooney had 68 yards receiving. So not the best offensive game by really all different positions here. Um, Check out the 49ers. Mac Jones, 17 for 26, 152 yards, zero touchdowns, one interception. So not a very good game there. However, their running back Christian McCaffrey had 24 carries for 129 yards, two touchdowns, and he also had, looks like, 72 yards receiving. So a really good game by Christian McCaffrey. Looks like that's over 200 yards total that he had. So Christian McCaffrey is playing really well after being out last season. He looks healthy, looks good. So 49ers keep on rolling. Um, what else to say about these teams? So, just for me personally, I really wasn't expecting much from the Falcons this season. So, they've been kind of a positive surprise. I didn't think that they were going to be 3-3. I thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL after 7 weeks. But they're actually a pretty good team. Their quarterback is solid. They have one of the better running backs. Um, they have a pretty good defense as well. So the Falcons are a lot better than I expected. So we'll see if they make the playoffs. 49ers, again, good, very good record, 5-2. Mac Jones has been in now for a few weeks for Brock Purdy. So we'll see if Brock Purdy comes back. I'm sure they're going to put him back in the starting lineup, but Mac Jones has filled in very nicely. And I don't know if there's too much of a difference between Mac Jones and Brock Purdy, but nonetheless, they have Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and other weapons. So 49ers are looking good. The last games we're going to talk about are the two games that are going to happen tonight on Monday Night Football. So the first game is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield versus Detroit Lions and Jared Goff. So, an amazing game here. This is a must watch. Two of the best teams in the NFC going against each other. Two very, very good quarterbacks. MVP candidates, Baker Mayfield and Jared Goff. So, very, very good first game. In the second game, we have the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud go against Seattle Seahawks and Sam Darnold. So this game is pretty good as well. Not as exciting as the first one, in my opinion, but not a bad second game. So let's jump into each of these games and make some predictions. So, Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Detroit Lions. It looks like this one is played in Detroit. This one's tough. My hometown team is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but the Detroit Lions are playing really well. They have an amazing team with weapons all over the place. So it's tough. I think, and on here we can see win probability 70 for Lions, 29 for Bucks. I think that sounds about right. I expect the Detroit Lions to win this game. I do think they're slightly better than the Buccaneers. Um, Buccaneers have had some injuries with Mike Evans. I'm not sure if he's going to play in this one. But either way, my expectation is that the Detroit Lions will win this game. But I'm definitely going to be rooting for my hometown Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield. I love Baker's game. I love his confidence. I love his attitude on the field. So expect the Lions to win, but hoping for the Bucks to get the upset win. In the other game, Texans versus Seahawks. This one is in Seattle. Win probability 61 for the Seahawks, 39 for the Texans. Yeah, that sounds about right as well. I think the Seahawks are a better team. Sam Darnold is having a pretty good season. They have a good running back, good wide receiver. The Texans have been kind of struggling this season. CJ Stroud has kind of regressed as well, but they need this win. So it's going to be a tough game. I think the Seahawks, I expect the Seahawks to win. And I really don't have a dog in this fight. I don't care either way who wins, but I expect the Seahawks to win this one. Before we wrap things up for today, I just want to run through the standings in the NFL after week 7. So we still have 2 games to go tonight on Monday Night Football. So this isn't going to be 100% until those games are done, but let's just take a look and see where things stand. So let's start with the AFC. AFC East. So the Buffalo Bills were in the first place for a majority of the season so far, but the New England Patriots have taken the top spot. They're 5-2 on the season. Bills are 4-2. So we're gonna have some competition in the AFC East between the Patriots and Bills. See who's gonna win that division at the end. Both teams are playing really well. Drake May for the Patriots, Josh Allen for the Bills. So I think initially it was looking like Buffalo Bills were clearly going to win this division, but things have changed significantly in the last couple weeks, and we have a 2-team race now. And the other 2 teams, Dolphins and Jets, are the 2 worst teams in the NFL. AFC North. So, like I was saying earlier, Pittsburgh Steelers were 4-1. They had a chance to go up 5-1 and just be the clear favorite in the division, but they dropped to 4-2. They're still in first place, but Bengals are close behind. The Browns 2-5 got a win this last game. Ravens, they are 1-5, but Lamar Jackson is coming back, and they're going to be very dangerous. So big opportunity dropped by Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, and I think it's going to end up biting them in the end. AFC South, Indianapolis Colts, 6-1, the best record in the NFL. The Jags in second place, they're playing okay. Houston Texans are playing okay. And Titans are one of the worst teams in the NFL. So we'll see if the Colts can keep off the Jags and Texans for the remainder of the season. And I think they should, just because from what I've seen from the Jags and Texans, um, I don't think they're going to be able to catch the Colts in the end. AFC West, Denver Broncos 5-2, Chargers 4-3, Chiefs 4-3, Raiders 2-5. So Raiders are the worst team in this division. They're not going anywhere this season with their bad quarterback play with Geno Smith. The Chiefs are on fire. I expect them to win this division. Broncos and Chargers close behind the Chiefs. So things can change very quickly. The Chargers were the favorite, and the Chiefs were looking bad, but yeah, the Chiefs definitely should have this division, and either the Broncos or Chargers in second. On the NFC side, NFC East, Philadelphia Eagles 5-2. Cowboys playing well, 3-1. Commanders are solid at 3-4, and the Giants are a tough out for any team. So this division is a lot more competitive than may be expected. The Eagles are the best team. They should win it. But Cowboys, really good offense. Commanders have Jaden Daniels. So it's not a foregone conclusion that the Eagles are going to win this division, but they should. But these other 2 teams, Cowboys and Commanders, might make things interesting. And the Giants are playing pretty well this season. NFC North, Packers, good record at 4-1. Lions, 4 wins as well. Bears, 4 wins. Minnesota Vikings, 3-3. So extremely competitive NFC North. I think the best team is the Detroit Lions, then the Packers, and then Bears and Vikings. So it's going to be tough at the end. Packers and Lions. So we'll see who gets the division title. NFC South. Tampa Bay Bucks 5-1, the best team in the division. The Carolina Panthers, they have turned things around in the last 3 weeks. They have a 3-game winning streak, so they were 1-3, looking like one of the worst teams. They win 3 in a row. They're 4-3 on the season. I think they're the best or the biggest surprise of the season so far. But I don't think they're going to catch the Bucks, so the Bucks shouldn't be worried. But I'm glad the Panthers are having a pretty good season. And finally, NFC West, a lot of good teams here as well. 49ers, Rams. I think those are the two best teams in the division. I would go with the Rams just because I'll take Matt Stafford any day. I think he's an amazing quarterback. Seahawks and Cardinals. Cardinals aren't going anywhere. The Seahawks are a good team. They might make things interesting, but I like the Rams in the NFC West and 49ers in second place. All right, guys. So that's all I wanted to cover for NFL Week 7 action. I hope you guys got some value out of this content and liked the video. If you did, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can continue making these videos. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.